Hello internets and welcome to another Pokemon X and Y Wi-Fi battle. You can call me 12 Pack. And it's been a while since my last video, at least 2 months ago I'd say, close to the fall of 2014. And the main reason I haven't been uploading lately is I kind of got distracted with the big game releases of that fall for the other consoles and got a little tired of Pokemon for a while, but I'm slowly starting to get back into it now. Haven't picked up Omega Ruby or Alpha Sapphire yet, but I think I will in the not too distant future. The trouble is I generally don't play Pokemon for the story anymore, and I probably will have to play through the whole thing before I'm allowed to use level 100s and stuff, but I might, just for the nostalgic factor of old Ruby and Sapphire, you know. But anyway, let's jump right into this battle here. I actually tried recording this a couple times before, and both times it stopped a little bit short of the end, which was extremely frustrating, but hopefully that doesn't happen this time. So, let's hop right into team preview here. We got a very interesting opponent today, but first, let me talk about my own team. I am running my usual Shuckle lead. I know I use Shuckle a lot in virtually every battle, but honestly, when you're playing against higher tier pokes with lower tier pokes, I find that Shuckle is like imperative to have on my team since he can do pretty much like 3 things at once and almost always never fails to do so. So that's why he's here, and that's that. So next up, we've got my special attacking Moltres with max speed, max special attack, timid nature. So this thing doesn't really require sticky web support, but I figured I'd bring it anyway just for the lulz and to see how he does. He's got Hurricane, Fire Blast, Roost, and U-Turn. Next up we have my Choice Scarf Bouffalante. Now this is a little bit of a unique set for Bouffalante because I'm not actually running max speed, instead running max HP, max attack, adamant, and then just using Choice Scarf to patch up my speed. And the purpose of this is to have a lot of HP to spare when going for those head charges so that the recoil doesn't wind up KOing me early. And Bouffalante actually has a pretty nice HP stat at level 100, around 350 I believe. So next up on the team here we got my Malamar. Once again, Malamar fails to do anything this battle. It seems every time I bring him he either gets OKO'd or else just his presence is not even required on the team. So next to Malamar here we got my Milotic. Now this is a kind of a stall set Milotic, but it's a little different than the standard ones you see. And it is a status orb carrying Milotic to get that Marvel scale boost, but instead of using Flame Orb, I'm actually using Toxic Orb in conjunction with Rest, so that if my toxic damage begins to build up too much, I can go to sleep, use Rest instead of Recover, and still retain that Marvel scale boost due to the fact that I will be asleep, and that counts as a status ailment. So I also have Toxic Sleep Talk and Dragon Tail on here, so no real strong offensive moves. This is a primarily defensive and special defensive Milotic with max HP. And last on the team here we got my Gourgeist Super. This thing is amazing. I have another game with him where he just simply does not die against all odds, so I suggest you watch that if you want to know the true power of Gourgeist. So, my opponent's team here, let's see. This is an exceptionally cool team. It seems to be a dog-themed team, or perhaps, yeah, I think it's canine-themed, which is really neat. There's some seriously cool pokes on this team. Starting off with Absol, and Absol is actually one of my favorite pokes. He's freaking awesome. I love him. He's not very fast, but he's got priority in Sucker Punch and a sky-high attack stat. Next up we got Zoroark. Zoroark is always kind of hard to deal with due to the fact that he can be any poke on the team, and you can run either a physical or special one. And it's going to be kind of hard to detect him on this team since there are so many dark types on it that it may be kind of hard to pick out which one exactly is Zoroark. So next up we got Mighty Yenna. This is extremely cool. I love seeing a Mighty Yenna. Mighty Yenna is just... I don't think I've ever faced one in Wi-Fi before, honestly. And that's the beauty about those pokes, is you'll see that during this battle I underestimate it, and it winds up costing me. And that's why you use pokes like that. You can get away with it because people do not know what they're capable of. So next to Mightyena here we got Houndoom. Houndoom is just badass, that's all there is to say about it. And then next to Houndoom we got an Arcanine. Arcanine is also one of my favorite pokes. And for a fire type, he has a pretty diverse move pool, so I'll have to watch out for him and any surprise attacks he might be carrying. And then finally on the team here, we got kind of an anchor in the form of Lucario, who I feel my opponent here brought just because the rest of his team is relatively low tier, so if shit gets real, you can always just send out Lucario and begin to do work with that. So, my opponent also has 3 potential Megas in the form of Absol, Houndoom, and Lucario, so I will need to be careful of that. And without further ado, let's get started here. First Wi-Fi battle of 2015. Let's go.
Eliam is issuing a challenge.
So I'm gonna lead with my Shuckle, and he's gonna go straight ahead and lead with my Master, the Lucario. Oh dear. So he's starting off with a bang here, bringing in the big guns, turn 1, Mega Evolving, and not fucking about. So let's see. I'm predicting him to go for a boost, so he, sure enough, goes for Swords Dance, and I go for an Encore in order to lock him into that and not get immediately annihilated by Lucario. So while he's locked into that with Encore, this gives me a turn or two to set up my entry hazards while he is just stuck boosting or else switching out. But since there's not really anything Shuckle can do to him, he is fairly likely to actually stay in. So there we go, a second consecutive Swords Dance. He's now in a state where he can probably OKO pretty much everything on my team, but I know I still have a few turns to spare, so I'm gonna get up my Sticky Webs and Rocks, now withdraw into Gourgeist to block that incoming Extreme Speed or Close Combat as soon as he comes out of Encore, and also I need to burn that Lucario, but he's too smart for that. Gonna withdraw and send out Absol, which is actually a-okay for me, because burning Absol, which I'm about to do here, is by no means a bad outcome on my part. So now Absol's at 50% attack. I'm like, okay, well that worked out not too badly. I don't think there's any way he can heal the burn off of him, so Absol is essentially useless, right? So I'm going to switch to my Milotic here to just kind of tank whatever hit he goes for. But wait a second, Night Day? What? Oh, I see what you did there. Okay, obviously it's not Absol, since there's only one Pokemon that can learn Night Days, and that is Zoroark. So my burning Absol was actually pretty much redundant, since it's a special attacking Zoroark, so the burn's not going to do anything other than drain his HP. And I'm going to phase him out with Dragon Tail here, revealing that it is actually Zoroark. And it's kind of neat that he was using Night Days on that. You don't often see that on Zoroark over Dark Pulse. But anyway, Houndoom comes in here after I Dragon Tail out the Zoroark. And yes, he takes entry hazard damage and loses speed. We're aware of this. And I'm taking Toxic Orb damage, but it's not too big of a deal yet. Nonetheless, I'm going to go for Rest in case this Houndoom has Hidden Power Grass or something like that. And get back up to full health just to kind of scout out what he might be going for. And he goes for a Dark Pulse here. And I lose about 40-ish HP, which isn't too bad. And I'll go for a Sleep Talk here, hoping to get the Dragon Tail, phase him out, and continue to rack up that Stealth Rock damage on whatever comes in. But instead I get the Toxic, which isn't even bad, considering I could have got Rest again. So might as well get a move that does something rather than one that does nothing. So he's just continually attacking with Dark Pulses, probably hoping for a critical hit somewhere in there. And I'm going to withdraw, go back into Shuckle here, who can easily eat up a couple hits from this thing because he's Shuckle and no fucks are given. Even though that was a critical hit, it did, what, 34 damage? So yeah, Shuckle's just going to sit here with his little derp face and take a incoming Fire Blast, and that does like almost nothing, lol. So I'm going to go for the knockoff here, trying to get rid of his Flame Plate or whatever the dark thing is, Black Glasses, but it's actually a Focus Sash, so that was kind of wasted since I do have Stealth Rocks up. Focus Sash is not going to work for him. And he's just continuously landing Fire Blast, and what the hell, another crit? And I'm at the point now where normally I'd be activating my Citrus Berry, but since he's got Unnerve as his ability, I can't actually eat it right now, so I'm going to have to wait for a KO switch in order to get that to activate. So I'm going to withdraw now, wanting to keep my Shuckle for a bit longer after locking Houndoom into Fire Blast with Encore, and bring in my Moltres, who is going to eat up this Fire Blast quite nicely, I believe. Yep, not even bad, 44 damage. And he's going to die this turn from the toxic damage, so Houndoom is down, but he gets a free switch in to check my Moltres, which isn't particularly ideal, as he sends an Arcanine. Now, why would you send Arcanine against Moltres? Obviously, Wild Charge or Extreme Speed, so either one of those are going to hurt me drastically. But I'm going to take the chance I might OKO with Hurricane, but I miss. And sure enough, here comes the Wild Charge. Boom, almost one-shots me, knocking me down to 10 HP. And he takes a sizable chunk of recoil damage. So I'm going to withdraw with Moltres, wanting to keep him for later. Go back into Gourgeist here to frisk this thing, see what it's carrying. It's got a Focus Sash as well, so that's not even a problem. But what the hell? He goes for Outrage. That was definitely surprising. I wasn't even aware Arcanine could learn that. It must be an egg move or tutor, but I'm not sure who he'd get it from if it is an egg move. Anyway, he goes for it again because he is obviously locked into it for, 2 turns minimum. And yes, he does become confused on the second attack here. So I'm going to go straight for a Leech Seed, start getting a little bit of chip damage every turn here. Since I don't really have anything that can directly check this Arcanine reliably, since I could bring back in Moltres, but there's the chance that I miss with Hurricane again and lose him, or it, I suppose. So Gourgeist is about 50% HP. I'm going to withdraw with him here, bring in my Milotic to just eat up some hits while this Arcanine is confused, hopefully dodging some attacks in the meanwhile. And no, he breaks through the confusion, goes for another Outrage just straight off the bat, and does a pretty hefty chunk to me, considering it was not even stabbed. So I'm getting some health back from Leech Seed, which is going to help prolong my longevity in the field and enabled me to stall this thing for a little bit longer, bit by bit. And he just goes ahead and drops another Outrage. He's locked into it again, and that time he gets a crit. So now I'm at a point where he can probably KO me the next turn, should he land another attack. Which is unfortunate, because if he did not get the crit, I probably would have lived another 2 hits. And he breaks out of confusion, goes straight for the Wild Charge, and pretty much seals Serenity's fate. So she goes down for the team there, but not even bad. She had quite a few hits and pretty much did her part in this battle. Arcanine is now almost dead due to the recoil damage in conjunction with Leech Seed and Stealth Rock when he first came in. So I'm going to bring in Moltres, do a little risky play here, go for the Roost, thinking I might be able to survive an attack from him. And here we go, Moment of Truth. Can Moltres tank it? And wow, Moltres, not even bad. He gets a minimum damage roll, so I survive on 36 HP, drain the Arcanine of its last few, and it goes down. Moltres recovering a little bit of HP from that Leech Seed, back to 45. So in comes Mightyena. I'm like, LOL, what is this thing going to do to Moltres? Prepare to get, dominated. But I forgot Mightyena has Sucker Punch, so just like that, Moltres is gone. So all my efforts of saving it were in vain. Now, it also carries Moxie, so all of a sudden we got a pretty good threat on our hands here. He's got a stab priority in the form of Sucker Punch, and he's at +1 attack, which is less than ideal for the remainder of my team. So I'm going to send in Shuckle, who can now eat his berries safely, and hopefully survive at least 1 hit, so that I can lock this thing into a move with Encore. And wow, useless, just like a boss, living on 6 HP and getting off that Encore right before he's about to bite the dust. And here comes the Crunch, finishing me off, but that is fine, because Useless, as usual, did not live up to his name and instead was very useful. So he's now at +2 attack, which was kind of a bad trade-off, but he is incapable of going for any more Sucker Punches, so that means Bouffalon can come in safely, use his Choice Scarf to his advantage, go for the Mega Horn, and completely obliterate Mightyena in one shot with the super effective hit. Now, that was pretty decent, but in comes Absol, and this is the real Absol, since that Zoroark was actually burned. So I know that he can go for a Sucker Punch now too, but since he's not at any pluses for his attack stat, I'm confident in my ability to survive, as indeed I do, losing 69 health, retaliating with the Mega Horn, and eradicating Absol in pretty much one shot. It would have been one shot even without the Stealth Rock damage. So here comes the Lucario, and looking back now, I remember that I didn't actually burn the Lucario at the start, but in this battle, I forgot about that. So I think this is the real Lucario. So I send out Gourgeist to block the fighting or normal type attack incoming, yet he goes for Night Days. So, god damn it. Definite misplay on my part, not paying close enough attention, and that results in the loss of my Gourgeist, who gets completely shreked by Night Days. The plus side of this is the Zoroark is almost dead at the moment, so Bouffalant can come back in, change up his attack to Superpower so I can get a super effective hit against Zoroark and the remaining Lucario, and completely overkill the remaining HP that Zoroark had. Yeah, the illusion wore off, he is now dead, and Lucario is the last man standing on my opponent's team. So the moment of truth is, can I outspeed and one-shot him, or is he going to outspeed me and one-shot me with a close combat or something? But since I am Choice Scarfed and the webs are on the field, he does not have enough speed to match me, so Bouffalant lands the superpower, Lucario dies in one shot, and that is game. That was an excellent match, Eliam. I really enjoyed that one. Your team was exceptionally cool. And as for my own, I will say that Bouffalant was sort of the surprise star of that show. Him and Malamar were my last two pokes standing, meaning the 2-0 victory in my favor. But Malamar's presence was just not even required in that battle. I probably could have sent him in to check Lucario to make things a bit more interesting, but he kind of just sat on the bench the whole game and just, chilled. He didn't even need to enter the field once. So hopefully I get another game where I can actually use Malamar, and as for my experimental Milotic set, that actually worked fairly well. It is a bit trolly, but it works somewhat decent nonetheless. So, thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll be sure to try to upload a little more regularly in the coming year, and possibly get my hands on Omega Ruby / Alpha Sapphire in the not too distant future. So with that, I'll see you next time. Bye for now.